return home. They informed her, clutching the proposal she had worked so hard on, "You're just a high school graduate." There and then, she burst into tears. After leaving for the main office, she came back in less than half an hour, admitting to the appalling treatment she had experienced from the planning department. As a coworker, witnessing her attempts and problems firsthand, I lost all control of my rage and grabbed my phone to yell at the person on the other end. "I'll dismiss everyone. You had best be at the main office by now because I'm going there." My coworkers turned to face me when I spoke up loudly, their eyes wide with surprise. She too stopped crying and looked at me in disbelief, her mouth hanging open. I walked over to her and softly whispered, "Now it's all right. Rest assured, everything will work out fine." I then rushed to the main office, where I met my caller, and made my way to the conference room. I'm called Charles. I have been employed for around 3 months at a branch of the large confectionery manufacturer Hayes Corporation. I was moved from the main office to the branch at the age of 64, and the other staff members appeared to believe that I had been degraded. Although I was aware that they were talking behind my back about me, I didn't mind because I wasn't being harassed directly. Unfortunately, my coworkers avoided me because of those rumors, which made it impossible to communicate. But one employee greeted me with warmth while the others kept their distance. Patricia Davis is her name, and she is an accountant. "Charles, good morning." "It seems a little warm today," she remarked. "Greetings, Patricia." Even though it's October, I said, "It feels like summer is back." Patricia has worked for the company for 4 years, having started as a contract worker immediately out of high school. She has been kind to me ever since I came to this branch and has frequently inquired about me. We now enjoy lighthearted talks over lunch together. Although Patricia is always happy, she had a difficult past because she lost both of her parents in a car accident. She shared her experience with me one day over lunch. She claimed to have grown up in an orphanage after her parents perished in an automobile accident when she was in middle school. She anxiously anticipated indulging in the delicacies that Hayes Corporation consistently supplied to the orphanage. Even though the orphanage staff was friendly, I occasionally stumbled and fell. But for some reason, I felt better after eating some Hayes candies. Patricia enrolled in Hayes in accounting, her ideal job, after studying bookkeeping at a commercial high school. When she spoke of Hayes candies, her eyes lit up, expressing her affection for the brand. She began discussing her ideas for new candies she thought Hayes could make one day during our routine break time conversation. I had to admit that I was a little surprised by this novel thought. "Patricia, that's a really good concept. Your imagination is very vivid. You do excellent accounting job, but I believe you would also be a superb planner." Patricia's eyes glowed with happiness as she hesitated to say anything. "To be honest, I've always wanted a job in planning." "That is fantastic. Have you given any thought to discussing a departmental transfer?" "Oh no. A person just like me," Patricia threw her hands in front of her face hastily. "I've never planned anything before. In addition, I just hold a high school diploma." I put a hand on her shoulder and firmly remarked, "Your education doesn't matter. What counts are your creative ideas and enthusiasm for Hayes candies that thrill our customers. Both are yours." "Are you really that sure?" "Without a doubt. Would you mind entering the upcoming workplace contest with your idea for sweets?" The business competition. Patricia was shocked, her eyes widening, her voice rising in surprise. "You are aware that the business hosts an internal competition once a year, correct? Participation is open to everyone, regardless of work situation. You should give planning a shot if you're truly interested in doing so." As I fervently urged Patricia to enter the competition, I could feel her heart faltering. "If it doesn't work out, it won't have an impact on your present circumstances. I believe you would have an amazing experience." She hesitated for a time before raising her head resolutely. "You're accurate. I have to make an effort. Nothing will happen if not." "Charles, I've made the decision to enter my idea in the upcoming company contest. That is the essence. I'll answer any inquiries you may have. Ask me whatever you want. Yes, I really appreciate it. I smiled as I observed Patricia's ecstatic reaction. She had talent and desire, so I knew she would do well in the competition. Following that, I assisted Patricia in getting ready for the corporate contest and showed her how to create a proposal. Patricia finished her proposal and continued to fulfill her regular accounting responsibilities in addition to preparing for the contest. She was a dedicated worker in addition to having talent and desire. Patricia had completed her proposal at last. Charles, you're the reason I was able to put everything together. I really appreciate it. Patricia, I just taught you how to write it. All of the rest is due to your diligence. It must have been challenging to juggle it with your accounting work. You performed admirably. She wiped her eyes swiftly and embraced the proposal close to her chest, almost in tears. I had a nice feeling in my chest when I saw her like way. I'll go ahead and submit the proposal immediately. I felt a sense of pride as I saw her excitedly bolt from the room, carrying it as though it were my own. She got an email from the main office a month later. She received an email letting her know that her idea had made it beyond the preliminary review. Charles, we succeeded. I won the first round. Patricia, that is fantastic. I was certain your plan would work. We toasted by putting our hands together, and my unusually high level of excitement made me flush. Next is the presentation at the main office, exclaimed Patricia, not realizing what she was doing. Since this is my first presentation, I'm really anxious. How about until the big day, we practice the presentation together? Really? Naturally, of course. We need to ensure that your idea is authorized now that we have progressed this far. I can't wait to taste those treats already. After my lighthearted comment, she grinned and chuckled. We then practiced for the presentation at the main office during our after-work hours. Patricia first found the new duty difficult, but with repetition, she made tremendous progress. She would perform admirably in the real presentation at this rate. The day of the company contest's final round finally arrived. Patricia intended to go to the main office after working at the branch until noon. As she prepared to depart, she added, I'm sorry to leave work unfinished, everyone. Her coworkers smiled and shook their heads. It's all right. Patricia, you work so hard all the time. Be at ease regarding us. We wish you luck in the competition. We are supporting you. Patricia was well liked by her coworkers since she was always kind to everyone. As they said goodbye to her, not a single grumble was spoken. I remained silent and simply gave her a strong nod when she looked in my direction. She nodded back, confidently making her way to the main office. Even that seemed to express how I felt. I gave her my heartfelt support and went back to working with my coworkers as usual. After a time, I heard the door open and gave it an inquisitive glance. Nobody was allowed to get up from their seat, and no guests were anticipated. Who might that be? I was surprised to see Patricia there as she was supposed to be at the main office. It had only been 30 minutes since her departure. The last screening meeting could not possibly end so soon. I was concerned that she might have overlooked anything crucial. Patricia, what is the issue? Have you forgotten anything? She gave me a sharp shake of her head as I hurried closer to her. I could see tears in her eyes as I looked down. Patricia is always so happy that there must have been some serious incident. She was struggling to talk, almost crying. Patricia clarified, I was brought to the contest location and waited for the planning team to arrive with the other participants. Normally they avoided me, but my other coworkers came over, worried about her. Patricia looked up, her face filled with tears and nervousness. Then a member of the planning team said, Why is a high school graduate here? After taking a look at my materials. The harsh remarks caused my blood to boil. In addition to their names, contestants had to provide a brief biography and the department in which they currently work. Someone must have noticed her past and said that terrible thing. This isn't a place for a high school graduate like you, they declared. Go home. You're in the way. She was at a loss for words. Patricia knelt and at last started crying. I balled my hands in frustration and was unable to speak. The callous words directed toward Patricia infuriated my colleagues as well. How could they say anything like that, rejecting her before they had even had a chance to read her proposal? Education ought not to be important. I was well aware of their emotions, but being upset in this place wouldn't make things better. I left her with my coworkers and used the branch office phone to contact the planning department. Sorry to disturb you, but could you put me in contact with the person overseeing today's contest in the planning department? I asked to speak with the person in charge without identifying myself, and the person on the other end appeared irritated. Without waiting for my answer, they abruptly ended the call and stated, "We're in a meeting right now." I pulled out my phone in frustration and gave a certain individual a call. They answered after a few rings, and I shouted, "I'll fire everyone," without providing any further context. Right now, I'm on my way to the main office. You had better show up. My coworkers looked at me startled by my loud speech. Patricia also stopped crying and looked at me with her mouth hanging open. I walked over to her and said, "Patricia, it's okay now. Remain calm. Everything will work out okay." I apologized to everyone, but I must go for a little while. My coworkers, who were still in disbelief, gave rigid, puppet-like nods without saying anything. Patricia looked shocked as she watched me go. I stormed to the main office, met the person I had contacted, and made my way to the conference room. I walked right in without knocking, which made the staff members in the planning department stare at me strangely. When one of the staff members noticed the strange elderly man, they brashly asked, "What do you think you're doing? We are currently engaged in a crucial meeting. If you have no business here, leave." A furious-looking man in his 40s rushed in behind me as more staff members were going to speak. The staff greeted him with yells of "President." Yes, he was the Hayes president and the person I had spoken with earlier. "What in the world is going on, Chairman?" As soon as you got to the main office, you rushed inside the meeting room. The staff gasped in surprise once more at his words, "Chairman," and they looked at me. I removed my spectacles and disguised wig to disclose that I was the chairman of Hayes Corporation. The staff gasped involuntarily when they realized who I really was. I looked around the room, irritated, and clicked my tongue. What in the world is happening here? Why are all of you present here? I roared at the staff, and they flinched back, menacing as a demon. They obviously didn't understand why they were receiving reprimands, though. I gave them a stern look and told them to bring all of the contest submissions. One worker got to his feet and carried over a stack of ideas with an obsequiousness. Charles Moore appeared on his name badge. "Here you go, Chairman." I took Charles's suggestions almost immediately and began leafing through them. I looked everywhere, but I couldn't find Patricia's proposal. Is this really all of them? Yes, each and every one of them is a fantastic proposal deserving of Hayes, he said with assurance. I gave him a chilly glance. At that moment, there was a knock on the conference room door, and a female staffer pushed a cart filled with tea inside. She brought more than just tea, though. She carried a bundle of frayed documents, which she silently gave to me. I noticed the staff members' fleeting expressions of fear. And what is this? In the trash, I discovered it. I brought it here since I believed it to be one of the submissions for the competition today. There was Patricia's name on the proposal. My rage was heightened by the knowledge that all of her hard work had been in vain. Charles continued, his self-satisfied look belying my mounting fury. Well, it seems like that one got past the guard. It reads like an essay from elementary school, so we weren't sure why it made it this far. As he spoke, Charles scoffed, and the workers around him laughed too. You say, an essay from elementary school? Yes, a high school graduate wrote the proposal. We felt that reviewing it was a waste of time. We got rid of it right away since it would only cause trouble for the gathering. Charles continued to criticize Patricia, looking even more smug, believing that my silence meant that I agreed with him. Those with little educational attainment blatantly demonstrate their limitations by submitting such a request in public. Graduates from high school should only take positions that fit their skills. I see. That's your viewpoint, but I disagree, I remarked, stepping in discreetly. His chit-chat broke up abruptly. I have personally examined this plan. It struck me as a really great and inventive proposal. Regretfully, it appears that we have different opinions. Charles became pale at what I said. You're correct, of course. I also had that thought. As soon as I complimented the plan, he swiftly altered his attitude, despite all the abuses he directed at Patricia. He began to grovel, making a valiant effort to defend himself. Well, Chairman, it's impressive that you see the potential in this plan. Others claimed that considering a proposal from a recent high school graduate was a waste of time, so I too had my eye on it. Several workers got out of their seats in rage as Charles attempted to place the blame elsewhere. What topic are you discussing? You were the one who advised against considering a proposal from a recent high school graduate. Whoa, I said exactly what you guys said. Don't blame me by myself for this. During the abrupt and brutal dispute that broke out, I covered my face with my palm. When did the quality of Hayes' employees fall so low? I yelled at them because I was tired of their constant arguing. Then I gave the staff a fierce look and spoke in a firm voice. If having a high school degree is deemed unfit, what about someone like me who barely completed middle school? Does that mean I can't be chairman anymore? After middle school, I began working at a tiny candy store and built Hayes into a significant confectionery company. It was impossible for the workers at Hayes to be unaware of this industry-wide tale. The planning department staff appeared shocked, as if they had finally remembered this information, and then awkward quiet ensued. I sighed deeply as I looked at the president, who had been fidgeting uneasily in the back. I trusted you to handle things. Unable to reply, the president simply lowered his head in embarrassment. I had devoted my time to philanthropic activity since taking on the role of chairman and leaving active duty. I tried not to become involved too much and trusted the president with the company, but this was the outcome in the end. At the orphanages I'd oversee, I've heard some unfavorable rumors about Hayes. Do you know how surprised I was to hear them? My involvement in charitable activity led me to purchase multiple orphanages and take on the role of director. Patricia attended one of these orphanages during her time in school. I had heard from the staff that a girl from the orphanage worked at Hayes, even though I had never met Patricia. During one of my regular visits to the orphanage, I overheard a staff member tell a startling anecdote. Patricia recently joined Hayes and brought her issue to me. Before her 5th year, she claimed, her contract might not be renewed. Did she make any mistakes at work? The typical reason for terminating a contract employee's job is that they committed an error that resulted in a loss for the business. This could be one of those cases, I thought, but the female employee shook her head. No, Patricia hasn't committed any grave errors. It appears that she is not alone in this. The contracts of other workers are also being terminated before they reach the 5-year mark. I expressed astonishment at Hayes when I learned that non-regular employees had the option to convert to regular employees after 5 years if they so want. Lately, though, it appears that non-regular workers are having their contracts canceled before they've had them for 5 years. The staff at the orphanage had no reason to lie, which shocked me. Besides, lying would do nothing for them. This implied that the rumors were probably the result of something negative happening at Hayes. Had the company I fostered, Hayes, changed in my absence? If that's the case, I have to stop this now. I made the decision to go incognito in order to gain insight into the company's internal issues. Feeling that it was fate, I went with Patricia's branch. I gave a brief explanation of how I got here and then looked at the president and staff. Charles among them, who had gone pale. Although I didn't want to think Hayes has turned into this kind of business, it appears that non-regular staff indeed receive appalling treatment. No, Chairman, we were just attempting to preserve Hayes' honor. Charles clung hard to his point while perspiring heavily. He was displaying some persistence because he hadn't given up despite the circumstances. But there is no room for personnel in our organization who denigrate other people based just on their educational background. And what does dignity mean to you? I inquired. Charles retorted, well, by making sure that important positions are filled by graduates from top universities. You're still not getting it. You are the ones who defile the honor of our organization. Charles was shocked and fell to the ground when I yelled at him. There's no reason to keep you here if we don't need to listen to those who harm Hayes' name. Take off right now. Not in a way. Charles and the other staff members in the planning department fell to pieces, realizing they were about to be sacked. After that, I made the decision to rid the business of its corruption by employing outside detectives to conduct background checks on the president and the staff members of the planning department. Patricia was not the only employee who had been the target of bullying and harassment because of their work status or educational background, the study found. What a disgrace. It appears that Patricia's proposal was found among the rubbish by a victim herself. Like Patricia, she had graduated from high school, but due to her degree, she was only assigned menial duties and was never given serious project work. She brought the rejected idea with a desire to assist Patricia, who was being made fun of for her background, because she felt sorry for her that day. She won't face prejudice in the workplace based on her educational background going forward and can perform to the best of her skills. Charles and the other major employees were fired for disciplinary reasons, making them the primary offenders. Regional branches were given responsibility for other staff members who took part in the harassing but weren't as aggressive. Comparing these branches to the main office, there are more non-regular staff. It will be beneficial for them to see personally how hard these workers work. The examination also showed that non-regular employees' contracts were being terminated by the HR head just before they reached the 5-year mark. He terminated their contracts before they could seek for regular status because he didn't appreciate the increase in labor costs that would result from non-regular employees becoming regular employees. What a stupid decision, given that hiring gifted people on a full-time basis would only help the business in the long run. Furthermore, nepotism was also practiced by the HR director. A guy like that could not keep a significant post for long, and he was demoted. The president was the final employee to receive punished after all other employees had been decided upon. I find it disappointing that this is the outcome as well. No, I'm accountable for not adequately overseeing the staff. I sincerely apologized, the president stated. He was forced to resign after years of disregarding the company's problems. He did not contest the decision, having seen everything that took place in the meeting room. He was not directly involved in the controversy and was a really wonderful man. Had he been aware of the harassment occurring among non-regular staff, he would have taken action well in advance of my need to intervene. But he was so overburdened by his presidential responsibilities that he was unable to monitor internal matters. He was unable to defend himself as president by claiming he was ignorant of the employees' misbehavior. With a clear understanding of this, he bid me farewell and discreetly departed the organization. But I was also somewhat to blame for my lack of focus on internal business issues. I made the decision to take over as interim president in order to completely restructure the business until a new president was chosen. I could not let my beloved company's employees suffer any longer. My goal was to provide a transparent, equitable workplace for gifted individuals like Patricia. The internal competition was revived, and contestants were invited to resubmit their ideas in an anonymous manner. To ensure a fair review process, the obligation to include departments and personal histories was removed. This is the idea that was finally chosen in the competition, president, and staffer handed them the plan, which naturally had no name on it, saying, "Please have a look." But after turning only a few pages, I was certain of who it belonged to. It was obvious. Patricia had made the suggestion. I returned the proposal to the worker after carefully reading it and grinned, saying, "This is a great proposal. I'm excited to see this candy turned into a tangible good." I went to see the kids at the orphanage in between my responsibilities as president. At Hayes, we're creating a brand new confectionery. I'll bring some here when it's ready. Congrats. Excellent. What sort of confection is that? That is kept under wraps. You will need to wait and observe. A grin also appeared on my face as I observed the kids' laughter and anticipation. I felt warm and happy thinking about these children, savoring the candy Patricia had made.
Harper sneered at me and said, "Thanks for quitting." I met her gaze, silently staring back without a word. It's about cutting labor costs. "We don't need a hag who exploits overtime pay at our company," she added, clearly pleased with herself. Tom seemed satisfied too. A week later, I received a call from the company. As soon as I picked up, the president's voice came through the line. "Who exactly are you?" he demanded. I laughed mockingly at his words. "I'm Ava," I replied. "I turned 59 this year and have been working at this company for 37 years, since graduating from college. Our company employs administrative scriveners, social insurance labor consultants, and tax accountants to handle clerical work for our clients. This is particularly popular with company presidents who run their businesses alone and lack time for administrative tasks. We take care of those tasks for them. I worked in the tax department and earned my bookkeeping and tax account qualifications during college, which is why I joined the company in the first place. Currently, I manage 45 clients, which keeps me extremely busy. Although a part-timer helps with the accounting entries, the workload is still overwhelming. However, I refuse to show any weakness. Our clients have been with us for a long time, and many have faced their fair share of hardships. Seeing them deal with adversity motivates me not to give up. So here I am, sitting in front of my computer again today. Lately, I've been troubled. Tom and Harper have been subjecting me to insidious harassment. Tom, who is 7 years younger than me, is the head of the tax department. He used to be just a regular colleague, but his attitude changed drastically 3 months ago when he got promoted. He used to speak politely, but suddenly started talking down to me. "Ava, what are you doing? You've got some nerve slacking off during work hours," he'd say, always either sarcastic or complaining. "I'm looking at documents for tax-saving strategies for our clients," I would retort, but Tom remained unfazed. "Just check the manual for that. Don't do anything unnecessary, and if you end up working overtime, don't expect to get paid for it." Tom glared at me, his words filled with disdain. Unable to respond, I turned to Harper, Tom's assistant. She chimed in, "Ava, you should work more efficiently. At this rate, you'll never finish. That's why you're still a rank-and-file employee." Harper laughed mockingly. I was the first to be offered the promotion to department head, but I declined. Taking the head position meant more management responsibilities and less interaction with clients. However, this was an internal offer, so Tom and Harper don't know about it. "I'll make sure to complete my regular duties as well," was all I could manage to say. Still, Tom and Harper's harassment continued. "You're increasing overtime again. What a waste." Tom's angry voice echoed through the office. "Ava, cut it out. Your constant overtime is dragging down the whole tax department's performance." Harper sighed. The reason for yesterday's overtime was simple. Tom had accumulated a month's worth of declaration forms that needed to be filed by the end of the month. After work yesterday, Tom suddenly said, "Take care of these," and left several client files on my desk. I turned when I saw the files. "Wait, these all have deadlines this month, right?" I asked, confused. By then, Tom was already nowhere near. Looking for him, I saw he was already packing up at his desk. "I'm heading out." "Take care," he said, and quickly left the office. "Good luck." Harper followed Tom out, laughing mockingly. Unbelievable. I sighed and opened the client files left on my desk. Moreover, some of the files were Harper's responsibility. I sighed even deeper. I knew why Tom was harassing me. They wanted me to retire quickly. I have more experience and deeper knowledge of taxation than he does, so other members of the tax department come to me with their questions instead of Tom. There are other reasons why everyone avoids Tom. He looks greasy and unapproachable, and the only female employee who stays near him is Harper. Tom likes young women, which is probably why he wants me to retire so the other female employees will rely on him more. It's such shallow thinking it gives me chills. There's also the fact that he simply doesn't like me. Harper was harassing me to curry favor with Tom. Tom evaluates the performance of the tax department, so she probably wanted to undermine me to get a good evaluation from him. Anyway, I have to manage these declarations. Not only do I have to prepare the tax declarations for my assigned companies, but it looks like I won't be able to finish today's work either. But if I try to claim overtime, I resigned myself to the prospect of unpaid overtime, knowing I'd only get complaints from Tom and Harper. Then one day I was suddenly called into the president's office. Our company had just undergone a change in leadership. The president's father, who had managed the company since its founding, had recently fallen ill and handed it over to his son. The new president had worked elsewhere and wasn't fully familiar with our operations yet, but he had little choice in the matter. "Excuse me," I said as I entered the president's office. I noticed Tom and Harper were already there, both with unpleasant smirks on their faces. "Why are Tom and Harper here?" I muttered quietly to myself. In this tense and strange atmosphere, the president spoke. "Ava will need you to resign by the end of this month." "Excuse me, what do you mean?" I asked, my mind spinning. "I've heard from Tom and Harper that you've been overbilling for overtime," the president explained. "Other members of the tax department only have about 15 hours of overtime per month, but you're already over 80 hours. Don't you find that odd? Tom and Harper have 0 overtime this month. Impressive, right?" He looked at me sternly. "The reason my overtime was so high this month was that I was doing Tom and Harper's work, but if I said it was Tom's instructions, it would make me seem incapable of managing my own time. So I just stated the facts. I haven't overbilled for overtime. It's a result of not being able to finish my work within regular hours," I said. The president sighed deeply. "I'm doubtful, but there's no evidence, so I won't pursue it further. However, we can't continue to employ someone who works that slowly. So I want you to resign." The president seemed to have made up his mind. I was being asked to leave the company I had dedicated my entire 37-year career to. I felt exhausted. No matter how much extra work I did, it was never appreciated. Instead, I ended up taking on Tom and Harper's tasks as well. "Yes, I understand. I'll resign at the end of this month," I found myself saying to the president. I glanced at Tom and Harper, who were smiling smugly, clearly pleased with the outcome. After leaving the president's office, Harper looked at me and said, "Thanks for quitting," sneering as she met my gaze. I silently stared back at her. Tom gave me the same condescending look. "We're cutting labor costs. We don't need a hag who exploits overtime pay at our company," he added, clearly pleased with himself. While watching the two of them chatter cheerily, I thought about the handover process and began creating the handover documents for all my clients. Of course, I didn't miss saying goodbye to the people I was handing over to. For the clients I couldn't meet in person, I sent letters informing them of my successor. A week after I resigned, I was finally relaxing at home. I had been busy with the handover until my last day and had been extremely busy even before that. A little relaxation seemed well-deserved. Just as I was thinking this, my mobile phone rang. The call was from the company. What could they want now? I made sure to take care of the social insurance procedures. I didn't answer the phone initially, but then the company called several more times. In fact, I had also received several calls from Tom and Harper's personal mobile phones. Perhaps they thought I'd answer if the call came directly from them. Reluctantly, I decided to pick up. "Hello, Ava, it's a mess right now." As soon as I answered, the president's voice came through. "Who exactly are you?" I laughed mockingly at his words. "Who am I? Just an unemployed lady. I've resigned from the company and I'm nothing else right now." The president spoke urgently. "Since you left, we've had 49 calls to stop transactions with the company. Please come back immediately." He finished speaking and hung up. He must be really panicked. I guess I have no choice. I got up reluctantly and headed to the company. As soon as I arrived, I saw Tom and Harper waiting. Their faces were pale, and they both had dark circles under their eyes. "What's wrong with both of you?" I asked, surprised at their drastic change in appearance. Tom glared at me. "Since you left, we've been getting calls one after another to stop transactions, not just from your clients, but from prospective companies we were planning to introduce. What did you do?" Harper looked at me with suspicion. I never thought Ava would do something so underhanded. I'm truly disillusioned. The reason they both looked so haggard was probably due to dealing with all the cancellations. Of course, I hadn't done anything to the clients, but I had a guess why they were canceling their transactions. "Well, the cancellations might be unavoidable this time," I muttered. Tom yelled, "So you did do something, didn't you? Get to the president's office now." He took me to the president's office. "President, I brought her," Tom declared forcefully as he opened the door. Harper followed quickly behind him. "Oh, I've been waiting," the president said, looking me in the eyes. Tom accused me as if I were the culprit. "It appears that Ava was involved in the cessation of transactions with our clients. We should not only make her resign, but also sue her for damages." Harper argued vehemently, though she spoke carefully in front of the president. Ignoring them, the president turned to me and asked, "Why did so many companies stop doing business with us after Ava left?" The president looked at me intently, waiting for an explanation. I took a deep breath and answered clearly, "Don't you understand? Our clients didn't need us just to manage their taxes. There are plenty of tax accountant firms that do it cheaper. They stayed with us because I was here." Tom snapped at me. "What's with that attitude towards the president? You think you're worth that much." Harper taunted, "There's no way it's because of Ava." The president looked serious as I explained, "Tom and Harper work based on the manual, optimizing operations. But I do more than that. I offer tax-saving strategies tailored to each client's situation. Uniform responses don't always serve the client's best interests. Many clients preferred my approach and stayed because of it." Tom was furious. "How can we afford to give such detailed attention to each case? It takes too much time." "That's right, it's inefficient," Harper agreed emphatically. The president sighed deeply and said, "Actually, I just got a call from my dad, the former president. Some of the clients who stopped transactions contacted him directly to discuss the situation with Ava." I was surprised to hear this. I hadn't expected the clients to go that far for me. Dad said that the tax department was viable because of Ava. She not only managed her clients, but also supported her colleagues' clients. She has knowledge that Tom can't match. Dad also mentioned that if Ava hadn't declined, she would have been in a higher position than department head by now. The president spoke with a pained expression. "No way," Harper said, looking shocked. She probably couldn't believe that I might have been her boss. The president continued, "I'm really sorry for asking you to resign, but can we revoke your resignation, Ava? You're needed at our company." My father also insisted strongly. I was honestly happy about the president's change of heart, but I couldn't accept his offer immediately. Then Tom interrupted our conversation. "President, what do you mean she's better than me? I can't accept this." Tom was visibly upset. Harper protested as well. "Tom is a wonderful boss who cares for his subordinates, and yet you choose Ava over him? That's unacceptable." The president looked sternly at them. Actually, since Ava resigned, we've received numerous complaints from the tax department. You too seem to have been pushing your work onto others, haven't you? What? Why would you? Tom's face turned pale. The president continued with a look of disgust. I've heard from the employees that you, Tom, have been assigning your client declaration forms to your subordinates, including Harper's work for many clients. Standing next to Tom, who was getting paler, Harper trembled as her name was mentioned. There was also a report that you've been pushing your work onto Ava until she resigned. You were calling her a salary thief, but it seems the roles were reversed, weren't they? The president sighed. No, that's not. Tom was visibly flustered, unable to come up with an excuse. Observing Tom and Harper turning pale together, the president continued, also, there was a report that you two are in a relationship. You were often seen leaving work together. But Tom, you're married, aren't you? The president glared at Tom and Harper. I was just mentoring Harper as her superior, nothing inappropriate. Tom struggled to find the words. The president produced several receipts. These are receipts questioned by the accounting department. These dining expenses filed by Tom. Who were they with? Certainly not clients, right. Tom was sweating profusely, unable to speak. Harper's face turned ghostly pale. Tom and Harper, you've neglected your duty and inflated expense claims. Plus, you're having an affair in the office despite being married. According to company policy, I'm terminating your employment as of today, the president told them calmly and straightforwardly. Tom and Harper tried to resist. Please wait. I'll retract the receipt claims. Just don't fire me. I have a family, Tom pleaded desperately. Harper did the same. Please, I don't want to be fired. I'll apologize to Ava and the others for offloading work on them. She was on the verge of tears, realizing the severity of being fired for neglecting work and having an affair with a supervisor. She must have been worried about her reputation. I advised them, why don't you just stop resisting? It's undignified. Tom glared at me. Shut up. What would a single person like you understand? I sighed and replied, Tom, you were the one who got me fired. It's just karma. What goes around comes around. Why don't you take some responsibility and reflect a bit? Damn it, Tom looked frustrated, and Harper bit her lip. I haven't reported this yet, but there's more to Tom and Harper's misconduct. Should I share more details? I asked the president with a smile. Tom and Harper's behavior was well known in the tax department. Their stories had reached me whether I liked it or not. No, please don't, Ava. Stop, they both pleaded frantically, trying to stop me. I gave them an ultimatum. Wrongdoings eventually come to light. It would be better for you to face reality before it gets worse. At my words, both of them collapsed to their knees. Ultimately, Tom and Harper were fired on the spot. I revealed their misdeeds afterward, which included Tom faking business trips to spend time with Harper and harassing employees they disliked into quitting. I tried to help those employees, but Tom and Harper's tactics were insidious. They repeatedly reprimanded and pressured employees out of my sight. It was also common for them to suddenly assign work with tight deadlines. The employees who resigned had asked me to keep quiet, but now they are happily working at other companies, so I decided it was okay to speak up. The president was furious at my revelation. He expressed his anger about cutting their final salaries and planned to thoroughly investigate past inflated expense claims. Tom was begging the president, tears in his eyes. Please don't cut my salary. What will I tell my family if they find out? Eventually, Tom and Harper's affair was exposed to Tom's wife, and he ended up getting divorced. The two are now facing claims for compensation in the divorce lawsuit. I know this because, for some reason, Tom contacted me. Please, can you persuade the president to reconsider the firing? Harper and I are in a real bind now. Apparently, Tom and Harper are struggling to find new jobs. The tax industry is somewhat insular, and if you commit too many misdeeds, word spreads quickly through the industry's network. That's why no one is willing to hire them. However, they need money for divorce compensation and living expenses, so now they're working day labor jobs, like at construction sites. People used to office work suddenly doing hard labor outdoors must be tough. Harper often calls me crying. "Ava, please help. I just wanted a raise and a better life. I never really liked Tom, and this situation is unbearable," Harper would say, crying. However, Tom and Harper's predicament is their own doing. Many people, including myself, have been victims of their actions, so I told Harper, "This is all your own fault, Harper. You can't unring a bell. It will be hard to return to the same path. You're just going to have to deal with the hardships." "No way," Harper cried out in despair. This was the outcome of Harper's actions. I hope she continues to regret her actions in the future. As for me, I'm still enjoying a relaxed lifestyle away from work. The president has been begging me to return, but I have declined. After being told once to resign, I don't think I'll go back. Sometimes I help out at a friend's tax office to earn a bit of money. Maybe once things settle down, I'll start my own office like my friend. In my own office, no one can complain about my working style. I can fully dedicate myself to my clients. As a tax accountant, I want to be on equal footing with my clients, not as a teacher, but as part of the service industry. My second life has just begun, and I'm looking forward to delving into what I want to do next.